Welcome to an exciting journey through one of Switzerland's most vibrant and picturesque cities. Get ready to explore the top 10 things to do in Lausanne, where history, culture, and natural beauty come together in perfect harmony. Number 10. Parc de Mon Repos. This rambling English park is planted with exotic trees like giant sequoias and is all you need for a bit of repose. The layout that greets us today is from the first decades of the 19th century, when the French architect Louis-Emmanuel Aimé Dainsmy reconfigured the park and its 18th century villa. From 1922–1967 this building was where the IOC would sit. There are some minor sights around the park, like an outdoor theater where Voltaire once produced a play and an orangery that is now a studio for the sculptor Yves Dana. Number 9. Fondation de l'Hermitage. In the Vaudois neighborhood, up the slope from the center of Lausanne is the handsome L'Hermitage manor house from the 1850s. The house is nested in its own park, blessed with another dreamy perspective of the lake, mountains and the cathedral towers. This view was famously recorded by the great landscape artist Camille Corot. In the 70s L'Hermitage was bequeathed to the city, and at the same time an art foundation was set up, with a collection that has now swollen to hundreds of works. These are never permanently on display but are shown at superb temporary exhibitions. Number 8. Tour de Sauvabellon. In the Sauvabellon forest at the city's loftiest point is a viewing tower constructed only from wood. This was raised in 2003 and is unusual for its double helix staircase, one set guiding you to the observation platform and another to take you down again. It is 151 steps to the top, and once you're there you can bask in dreamy views: Lake Geneva, the Alps, the Vaude Alps, French Alps and Lausanne's cityscape. The timber for this 35-meter structure comes from the forests outside the city and it's composed mostly of Douglas fir, but also spruce and some larch wood. Number 7. Esplanade de Montbenon. So we know that Lausanne is blessed with exhilarating panoramas. But the one at Esplanade de Montbenon rivals the best in the city. In this manicured, verdant space you'll be inclined just to sit and stare at the scenery. But there are some interesting monuments to seek out Montbenon. At the top of the Esplanade is the Palais de Justice de Montbenon, a grand Beaux-Arts edifice from the 1880s. Until 1921 this housed the Federal Supreme Court of Switzerland. The Casino de Montbenon is another former home of the IOC, hosting the committee from 1915 to 1922 and today containing the Swiss Film Archive. Number 6. Place de la Palude. A wedge-shaped pedestrian square in the center of Lausanne, Place de la Palude is ruled by the 17th century city hall and old apartment buildings. On the ground floor the building's arcade leads you to a passageway continuing through to Place de la Louvre. On the east side of the square is the Fontaine de la Justice, started in the 1500s. From here you'll get a good view of the City Hall's tower, as well as the Horloge de la Palude, which was assembled for the Swiss National Exhibition in 1964. At the chime of the hour figures representing Lausanne's big historical personalities make a round of the clock before returning inside. Number 5. Musée de l'Élysée. One of Europe's great photography museums is in another elegant 18th century mansion overlooking the lake. There are more than 100,000 photographs in these galleries, many produced with the earliest techniques. You can study daguerreotype, albumen and ambrotype prints and follow photography's evolution right through to digital prints. Fated Swiss photographers like Ella Maillard and Nicolas Bouvier bequeathed their life's collections to the museum. And, in 2011 the museum purchased Charlie Chaplin's personal album, containing 10,000 photographs recording his whole career. Number 4. Ouchy Promenade. When the sun is out, the kilometer-long walkway beside Lake Geneva is a slice of heaven. On weekends the promenade thrums with families and couples out for strolls and pausing to savor the sight of the lake and the Chablais Alps. There's a lot happening on Place de la Navigation, be it a market, public concert. And if you're by yourself you can bring a book for an hour or so, and watch the CGN ferries coming and going at the busiest port on the whole lake. This quarter is as posh as any in Lausanne, where stately hotels like the Chateau Douchy and the Beau Rivage take prime position on the lakefront. Number 3. Olympic Museum. As the home city to the International Olympic Committee, Lausanne is essentially the Olympic capital. So it's apt that you can get the inside track on one of the world's great sporting events. The museum is south of the center at Ouchy, commanding a view over Lake Geneva from the top of the Olympic Park. The permanent exhibition is arranged over 3 floors, each dealing with the Olympics from a different angle, Olympic World on the ground floor chronicles the game's ancient history and their modern resurrection at the end of the 19th century. Number 2. Collection de l'Art Brut. Up the slope, in the outbuildings of the 18th century Château de Beaulieu is one of the definitive collections of Art Brut. Most of these works were gathered by Jean Dubuffet, founder of the movement. The pieces come from all sorts of backgrounds. There are children's drawings, pieces of folk art and paintings by patients in psychiatric hospitals, but one uniting characteristic is that all the artists exhibited here were on the margins of the art world. For this reason, and because they weren't creating art for attention or financial gain, their art is regarded as more authentic. Number 1. Lausanne Cathedral. The city's solemn cathedral went up during the 13th century and was consecrated in 1275. That sound in the dead of night is the lookout, who barks out the hours between 2200 and 2 o'clock 365 days a year, and one of the last of his kind in Europe. One of the people to thank for the cathedral's current appearance is the French master restorer Viollet Leduc. He led the restoration in the 1870s as his last big project before he passed away. Look for the sandstone image of the Virgin and Child in the narthex, and the 13th century sculptural figures on the southern portal where there are still traces of medieval paint. If you haven't already, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you stay tuned for more exciting travel content from around the world.